You see this right here? It's a real podcast. Cry me a river. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Headlock Talkover podcast.
I promised myself I'd be prepared.
You were prepared for that. I made bloody sure of it, mate.
Oh,
I'm Jeremy, joined as always by Jack. How the hell are you?
I'm okay. I'm good.
Are you sure?
I'm ready.
You seem startled. Can't imagine why.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Welcome to our episode where we will be talking over the first ever TNA pay-per-view, one of their many weekly pay-per-views in 2002.
Oh yes,
That was a good time. It was a time.
it happened,
Yeah.
and things happened on
Go
it.
down in history as one of the many things we did with our lives.
I had no part in it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I guess not. So let's start by sort of explaining the concept of the podcast, really.
Yep.
Because we wanted to be a little bit different than all the other pay-per-view podcasts you see. And we're watching them live. We will have watched them beforehand, written notes, etc. But the recordings you hear of our episodes, we are watching the show in the background as the show goes on. We're currently working on a 2-week release schedule because we're both a pair of busy boys with full-time jobs, but we'll assess that as and when. Might be more frequent, might be less frequent. We'll see how it goes. So we thought we'd just get that out of the way. The other things that we need to get out of the way are 2 major errors we made in the last episode. First of which, during the episode itself, you gave me a quiz.
I did give you
on
a
all
quiz.
the ECW people that were involved in the show. And we didn't finish the bloody quiz, Jack.
No.
So, for those of you who are probably screaming that you knew who it was, the last person I didn't get was Joey Mercury, who is also on this show.
Seamless transition.
Yeah, totally. The only other thing, and I feel like an absolute donkey for this, we were talking about MJF and the bidding war of 2024.
Right.
I mentioned that he was facing someone at New Year's Evil. That's not the name of the show.
No, that's...
The name is World's End, and New Year's Evil is the NXT show that happens around the same time.
Well, this time of year, there's a lot of wrestling that's happening. So
my brain is fried.
I struggle to remember things at the best of times.
I want to jump in to the thing that we've decided we're going to do is that I think we'll juggle these back and forth depending on pay-per-views. I think the next one, I want to do our Rumble predictions because it'll line up perfectly. Yeah, the Royal Rumble predictions because
it will be fun this year.
That episode should go out the Saturday. No, it should go out the day of the Rumble.
Right.
But we'll have recorded it beforehand and
I'm
got
with
our
you.
predictions in. But in between, we're going to come up with our own list of top 5s. And this week we decided, as a bit of an exercise, we'd have our top 5 straight swaps between WWE and AEW. Like tag team, women, men, whatever you think would be a perfect swap between the two.
So I've done mine like for like. I don't know about yours. Like tag team for a tag team.
Yeah, I've done that exact thing.
I remember when you first messaged me about it, my initial thought was swap Vince McMahon for Tony Khan.
Yeah, we decided it had to be in-ring talent only, otherwise that's exactly what would have happened.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I kind of would. Never going to happen, but I'd like to see it. Would you like to go first with one of your top 5?
Okay. Admittedly, I had to look at whether they were still employed by WWE or not, but the OC for House of Black.
Ooh, yeah, I do like that. I like that quite a lot. Definitely not on my list. What makes you think it?
Well, I was thinking about tag teams that you could break them up as well and it would still work. The OC would both work as singles guys, especially in AEW.
And obviously, Gallows and Anderson have a bit of history with AEW beforehand.
Exactly. And House of Black, I think, would just work seamlessly straight over to WWE.
Are obviously former WWE guys. And then you've got the lovely Brody King.
I did debate whether to put them on or not because I do think by the end of the year, half of them will be back in WWE anyway.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, for the sake of this list, I think that would be a pretty decent because the prospect of them versus Judgment Day.
Yeah, I like that.
Is just it's there.
Speaking of AJ Styles.
Oh God, okay.
I opted to swap him for one Ricky Starks.
Oh.
I've noticed a pattern with my top 5, Jack, in that I've taken a lot of the younger AEW guys and I've swapped them for veterans in WWE.
Right, okay.
Not really advantageous for AEW, but I'm going to go with it anyway.
Yeah, no, Starks is a great fit for
Starks,
WWE.
He's perfect for WWE. And AJ Styles, you can have those dream matches that we've wanted throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot to offer in terms of training because he's one of the best in-ring workers possibly ever.
Yeah.
So I think that's a perfect fit for me.
Starks is very sports entertainery.
Yeah, he's got
As
the
well.
he's got the gift of gab. That Starks.
Well, I was torn between this one. I have Ricochet, and then it was either a tie between Starks or Hobbs. And because you've just gone for Starks, I'm going to say Ricochet for Hobbs.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will say when I was drafting this list, I had 9 swaps that I was happy with, and I had to whittle it down, and Ricochet was definitely in there.
He would just work so well.
Could you imagine like a Ricochet versus a Commander or a Vikingo?
Pac?
Yeah. God, we're still in AEW. It's been so long since we've seen him.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
This is my tag team one. My only tag team one. It's the Guns for DIY.
Okay.
Because the Guns, I think, they're obviously going to be stars. You can see in the way they're presented in AEW, they've come a long way, because initially I wrote them off as just, they're Billy Gunn's kids. They're not really going to go anywhere. And then when they got that really cool entrance where the spotlight's on them, everything clicked in my head.
The 50 Cent entrance.
No, not even that. Just, I like their original theme.
Is it 50 Cent? It's Many Men, isn't it? I can't remember who sings it.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I prefer their original theme.
Right, I can't remember it.
It's that weird synthy thing that sounds like it's in an arcade.
Did it start with a gun cocking?
It might have done. I only remember the synth melody, but I can just imagine that presentation in WWE. That's the gist of what I'm getting at. And then DIY, granted, Ciampa's a little bit up there in terms of age, and he's got a very bad case of neck.
Yeah, he's like he's made out of glass at this point, I think.
But apparently that doesn't really affect Tony and the way he books things.
Well, the way he books things, they'd only be on there once every 2 months.
That is true. But I think Johnny Gargano could do a lot in AEW.
Yeah.
I know you're not much of a fan of Johnny Gargano, and we'll probably open up on that at some point down the line. But now is not the time. What's your third pick?
Well, I also had the Guns, but I would swap them for Alpha Academy.
Okay, yeah, I can totally see that working. I get the feeling Otis might not get as over in AEW as he would in WWE.
No, he might, because AEW like the silliness, and if he goes back to the way he was before, because they've sort of made him a bit more serious.
I think they'd make him work with the Hoss matches that AEW like to do. So if they had him versus a Hobbs, a Miro, a Joe,
yep,
those would really work. I don't know how well he'd do against some of the smaller guys. Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Gable feuded with Otis at one point, because I distinctly remember a German suplex.
That sounds right.
But it could just be because Gable suplexes everyone and he's just got lost in the shuffle in my mind.
I can see him suplexing Braun Strowman in my head.
Yeah, he's definitely done that. I think he did that at WrestleMania 39.
Yeah, he did the Chaos Theory, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was WrestleMania 39. But I think Gable will shine. 100%. There's been a lot of speculation everywhere where Gable is always AEW bound and it never happens.
A lot of people have pushed for him over there, apparently.
Yeah, but I think Triple H has he's treated him very well the last few months. Like giving him that whole thing with Gunther a few months ago has really shown what he can do.
Yep.
So I think that works really well, to be honest with you. Right, my third pick, again, young for old, don't know why, but Jamie Hayter for Asuka, or Kana, it would be.
Okay, yeah.
I think Jamie's obviously got the stuff to make it in WWE. I've seen a lot of criticism where her gimmick is essentially an accent, which isn't entirely wrong, but there's that star quality there.
I don't know about that. She has a bit of a brawling style than most females, I think. But yeah, there's something there.
Yeah, that's perfectly valid. And I think Asuka, you go back to the dream matches, her gimmick would get over really well. Tony loves his Japanese wrestlers. I think that's a match made in heaven on both sides. And Asuka's pretty much done all she can, I think, in the WWE. She won the first ever Rumble.
Yeah.
If you care about Queen of the Ring, she hasn't done that, but there's only ever been one or two.
Yeah, so it was Zelina Vega and...
Yeah, I only remember Zelina. I don't remember another one. By
Charlotte?
Possibly.
It's a safe bet, isn't it?
Who's won something that's a woman in WWE? Oh, it's got to be Charlotte.
Well, I also had Jamie Hayter, but I would swap her for Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
For most of the same reasons.
I think Becky only goes if Seth goes. I think that's the problem. I don't think they're the type of people that would want to separate in the same way like Buddy and Rhea have, where they're working for different companies but still together. I don't know if they want to do that, particularly since they have a child together. But that's all speculation. I can't really say much fairer than that. Right, my fourth pick is someone you've already mentioned, but you know exactly where I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to explain to everyone who's listening. My swap is Kevin Owens for Brody King.
Okay.
I think Brody does have what it takes to be a single star
Mm-hmm.
because he was ROH champion, right?
No.
Okay, I know he was big in ROH though when he was there before he got poked by AEW.
Or was he?
Yeah, I'm
He
not
was.
sure.
He was in
He was in
Ring
that
of Honor.
picture.
That's all I could tell you.
Yeah, but I think a big guy like that could do a lot. He's got a lot to him. I think the only thing that would let him down is that he's got that barking gimmick, which wouldn't be applicable because of Bron Breakker.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't really work, but I'm sure he could find something that would work. And with Kevin Owens, we have discussed this in private, but I just want to see a match between Kevin Owens and Orange Cassidy. I just want to see what he would do with the ridiculousness that is Orange Cassidy.
I could just see him shouting.
Yeah, he's just shouting the whole time while Orange Cassidy's doing his little kicks. And Kevin's just shouting at him the whole time. What are you kicking me for? This isn't going to work. What are you doing? Stop kicking me.
Yeah. Yeah, that would work very well.
I'd really love to see it. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I'd love to see it. What's your final pick, Jack?
I wrote these down before the most recent SmackDown, and I still stand by it. I would swap Cross for Wardlow.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because Wardlow needs to be in WWE sooner rather than later. And Cross, I don't know why he can't get over, why they can't figure out what to do with him. But to quote Dutch Mantel, you couldn't get heat on him if you set him on fire.
See, I don't know if you disagreed with me on this, but I think I liked what he did in NXT. I think that worked.
I was a fan of his when I first saw him, was when he debuted in Impact. And he was a bit hammy. He did like the wide eyes, crazy man.
This is back when he was Killer Cross, yes?
Yeah. Like the wide eyes with the 1,000-yard stare thing, and he did come across like good, but I don't know what it is. There's just something not there. This whole thing with Paul Ellering and the Authors of Pain might work.
Yeah, they've got like a similar aura about them, like it's dark and serious but not spooky.
Yeah.
So I think that would kind of work, particularly with Ellering. I think he's got that kind of vibe as well. And I don't know how old Cross is, but I think Ellering could give a lot to Cross in terms of knowledge as well.
Cross strikes me as one of those people that's either older than you think or a lot younger than you think.
Yeah, couldn't possibly. I'm not going to look it up because it's more fun that way.
Yeah.
So Wardlow happens to be in my fifth pick as well. Because 100% agree with you. Wardlow has to go to WWE. There's nowhere else for him.
Yeah.
What the hell he's doing with this Adam Cole business, I do not know. Because I'm just going to go on a side rant here because it's so obvious what they're doing. They're just setting him up to turn on Adam Cole and be a face again. And that's 4 face turn, heel turns in 2 years. And He's not the Big Show. He's not the Big Show. It's not going to work. I can call it now. He needs to go to WWE. They will know what to do with him. And he's like 36. Time is running out on what he can do because he is still really athletic. Like he does the hopping up to jump onto the top rope. He does a swanton bomb.
Yeah, he does.
He's not going to be able to do those for much longer at his age. But I have opted to swap him for Drew McIntyre rather than Killer Cross.
My original swap was exactly that.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't is because I think Drew's going over anyway.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I picked it, is that I think it makes sense. And I'm certain he's going to turn up probably All In, if not before then. But his contract's up at some point in 2024. We just got to wait and see what happens, I guess.
Interestingly, neither of us picked MJF.
He was my backup in case like you weren't happy with the tag team thing or anything like that. Mine was going to be MJF for Rollins.
Okay.
Yeah, that would have been my pick as a swap because if you're going to get rid of MJF as a swap, you've got to pick someone with that star power, someone who's a very recognizable name, someone who's going to get eyes on the product.
Swap him for Roman.
Yeah, but that would never happen.
No.
That's why I didn't pick it. I think Seth's more likely to jump ship than Roman ever is, and Seth's perfectly happy where he is. He's not going anywhere, but out of the two of them, I know who my money's on.
I deliberately didn't pick MJF because I wanted to get this on record, and we've spoke about this.
We have.
I think he's going to WWE.
I think this is all a work because we're at the point where MJF he's lost the title to Samoa Joe. He's been taken off the roster page, which is the most Tony Khan thing I can imagine.
Yeah. Towards the end of last year, I was absolutely adamant he was going to leave and he was going to turn up in WWE, and now he's lost the title and they've removed him from the page and they've mentioned him in promos loads. I've started to second guess myself.
Yeah.
But
I'm so sure he's just going to turn up. It won't be for a few months. I think Max will take the time off, which is fully deserved because he is injured after all.
well, there's rumours that he might have to have surgery, and if that's the case, he's out for a year.
Yeah, exactly. So Revolution, maybe 2025, if it's that long, it could be that long without Max.
They won't keep him off screen for a year. They'll have him come back
That is a good point.
some way.
Yeah, they'll have him talk because that's what he's good at.
Yeah, or stick him on commentary or something.
Yeah, and that's not to say anything against what he can do in the ring, because I've said this to you before. Max is better on the mic than he is in the ring, and he's fantastic in the ring.
Yep.
So yeah, if they ever let him go, that could be the first nail in the coffin. I'm not going to say the final nail in the coffin because Tony Khan's got more money than sense.
It would be sort of the equivalent of when TNA let Styles go, and then it just went downhill.
Well, I think the difference there is that Styles had done everything. There was not much left for him to do. I think New Japan was a nice little challenge to go afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Then he made that work. So, if there's a single swap that you can think of, let us know in the comments we've got. So, Wrestle Kingdom 18 happened earlier this week, and I noted to you that every title changed hands. Every single one.
Well, I think this was the first New Japan show with Tanahashi in charge.
Yeah.
So it might have just been a reset of... Although, didn't he win a title as well?
No, I don't think he was on the card. I think you're thinking of Takahashi, who lost his junior heavyweight title.
Right, okay.
But I hadn't thought of that until you brought it up to me in private, is that it's the perfect way to sort of cement that he's taken over the company. I didn't even know Tanahashi had taken the reins until you told me, because I don't follow New Japan that closely.
No, me neither.
But no, it was a really good little show. From the highlights I saw, obviously you had Dolph Ziggler turned up and confronted David Finlay after he beat Mox and Ospreay.
That'll be good.
For his title. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed he didn't turn up anywhere else, but it's almost like a rite of passage for a lot of people that they have to wrestle in New Japan specifically.
Well, Ziggler's only ever wrestled in America, and he's only ever wrestled for WWE.
Well, yeah, he was part of the Spirit Squad, wasn't he?
He was in WWE for 19, 20 years.
Something like that, yeah.
So he might want to go and do something different, like jumping over to a TNA or an AEW might just be doing the same thing again.
Being with New Japan, I think he can do the odd date with AEW, particularly since his brother's there.
Mm-hmm.
So that could work, but that will remain to be seen. We're also one day removed from SmackDown Revolution, which is what they named it because it was the new year, I guess. And obviously the big takeaway is that they had the triple threat match that we mentioned in the last episode between AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and LA Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Roman interfered in said match, and essentially it led to a no contest, but Nick Aldis wisely, get it? Pulled Paul Heyman aside and said...
Oh, I'm laughing because it's not funny.
Yeah, I know.
As you were.
Yes, he wisely pulled Paul Heyman to the side and said, you can tell Roman congratulations because he's earned himself a fatal four-way at the Rumble.
That bit was so good.
Yeah.
Just with Heyman going, don't touch me.
Yeah, don't be touching me. Oh, you've got bad news. Oh, no. Yeah, it's going to be real fun. I'd like you to digress into the spot that you mentioned to me earlier today. I really want that.
So I sent you a picture of, was it Mania 38, 37? Of when Roman pinned Edge and Daniel Bryan by stacking them on top of each other. I've got visions of that happening at the Rumble, but three of them, just with Roman with a big shit-eating grin on his face. Just like, oh yeah, this is happening.
I do not want that to happen, but I'd love to see it.
I would very much like to see it.
Of those three people as well, I mean, LA Knight is on the rise, and it remains to be seen whether he'll ever be world champion, but AJ Styles, Randy Orton, multiple-time world champions. Mm-hmm. Same with Bryan and Edge, just stacking them up and knocking them down. Quite a sight to see. Yeah, so that's about it, to be honest. I think we can head straight into the episode. We will say that next week's episode, just as a little teaser for you guys, is going to be WCW Great American Bash 1991.
That was fun.
We had fun. The show was not fun.
No.
So enjoy that and enjoy the episode.
Okay, I have one word to describe this pay-per-view.
I'm all ears.
Uncomfortable. But we'll get to that.
We sure will.
How much about TNA do you actually know?
Nothing about the really, really early days. I watched it quite a bit in 2005.
You see how the top rope is a bit loose?
Oh my god, I do.
Apparently it broke during a dark match. which is why they have this extended promo with all the NWA legends. I assume it was supposed to happen later on in the show. But to call your show Total Non-Stop Action and it start with 15 minutes of old men talking, well done.
And it is certainly 15 minutes. That's ridiculous. I can't believe I didn't notice that top rope. That's amazing. Out comes Don West, and this show made me realize how much Don West actually added to TNA in the later years. He's kind of finding his feet at this point, isn't he?
Literally knew nothing about wrestling, but absolutely made up for it with just enthusiasm.
The hype man of the company.
Ed Ferrara. I hate this man.
I do now. I didn't know who he was before I watched this, and now I hate him too.
Are you familiar with the WCW gimmick Oklahoma?
Not at all.
It was Ed Ferrara, and they employed him to basically just sit on commentary and mock JR with Bell's palsy. It was offensive, and there was absolutely no need, but that was Ed Ferrara.
So Ed Ferrara is offensive, you say? I would never have guessed.
He's also the heaviest ever WCW Cruiserweight champion.
Incredible.
There is Mike Borash Tenay.
Jeremy Tenay, that's the one.
He was a good person to have for this. Even in WCW, he was so good. I think he takes it a little bit too seriously.
Now, I want to point something out to you because we're watching the version of this that you watched. On my version, Tenay's been cut off at this point and Borash is in the ring. You don't hear any of the people that they're respecting in their NWA history.
Right.
He literally goes, people like, and then it cuts to Borash in the ring. That's absolutely incredible that they thought to just cut all that out when this show is all about the history of wrestling. Like, they mention every major wrestling company that you could think of at some point or another.
Unbelievable. Don West looks so lost. He looks really nervous.
I don't blame him. Yeah, this is all completely new to me as well. None of this was on the version I watched.
Well, if you'd have watched the link that I sent you, Jez.
I think I did.
I might have sent you the wrong link.
You sent me the wrong link. So this is the point where it cuts back in.
Boy band Borash.
Yeah. Rash Barash. Harley Race, one of the toughest men known to man, comes out.
I wonder how much they're paying him, but it wasn't enough.
Well, he does just stand there the whole time.
He does. How drunk do you think the crowd are?
Very. 100%.
It's the South.
Yeah, this is the south of the US, and
South.
There's a running theme of things that Southern Americans like.
I'd like to talk about that, but we'll talk about it later on.
So this is a bunch of real pivotal people in the history of the NWA, but a lot of them appeal to this specific demographic as well, if I'm not mistaken. Dory Funk Jr.
Got a whistle on, not reffing the match.
Oh my God, I noticed the whistle. Incredible. You got a football game to be at, mate?
This scared the hell out of me because he looks like he's going to fall at any minute.
And funnily enough, he's the most active participant out of all the people that walk out throughout this show.
Ridiculous. He's loving life.
That's amazing as well. Ed Ferrara asked what the Wrestling Observer is in 2002.
He does get some good ones in. Okay, so it's about here I sort of lose track of who's coming out and who's who.
This happens a couple of times.
Yeah, yes, it does.
If you look at the kind of people that are in the crowd as well, not many of them are going to care who these people are. It's almost as if TNA sort of attracts a certain type of person.
Well, it's almost like calling a promotion Total Non-Stop Action. You think there'd be some action.
Yeah, and also spending 2 hours insinuating that TNA might mean something else. So once they're rolling, I want you to just pay attention to what the crowd is doing right now. Not a lot.
I mean, there's a couple of people chanting. What were they chanting?
I think Ricky.
Yeah. I think he realised what, as he was saying it, he was like, oh, what have I said?
Oh, it's certainly a disjointed promo.
And I'm pretty sure he said watching this tape per view as well.
Oh, incredible.
I mean, not known for his promo skills.
Definitely not. Known as one of like the greatest in-ring performers of his time and responsible for what's arguably one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time.
Yep.
So at this point, Ricky Steamboat starts listing all the parallel accomplishments in other sports, and that's how you appeal to an American audience.
Well, I think it was because they're stretching for time because that top rope broke.
Yes.
He does seem to be looking for someone to tell him. Although maybe it's because the top rope could be fixed at this point, but they've started what they planned to do, so you can't half do it and then have them all come out again.
I think that's a fair point, but I will also stress that the only sport he's listed there where the event takes place outside the US, he pronounces incorrectly because he says Wimbledon.
I mean, out of everyone in that ring, he was probably the one to cut the promo.
Well, when you see Jackie Fargo a little later on, you completely see why.
I mean, Harley Race might have been the one to cut the promo, but he's sweating profusely. Look, he's got his hanky.
I'm not sure how old he is at this point either, Harley Race.
Ageless. They're just saying he's going to referee the match. So is he going to borrow Dory's whistle?
Yeah, he must do.
Get used to this music as well if you're going to start watching TNA.
My World starts playing.
And the crowd sort of don't know what to do. They're cheering him because it's Jeff Jarrett, and he's obviously a big name. It makes me laugh because he started TNA, so he'd have somewhere to work. Famously got fired by Vince McMahon.
Absolutely, for
holding up the title.
Yes, I don't know what event it was, but I know he held up the IC title.
Yeah, he had the title and his contract expired, and he refused to drop it to China.
Yes,
I think.
See, Jarrett's cutting a promo here where he's talking about how deciding a new NWA champion with a gauntlet for the gold match is kind of stupid. He's not entirely wrong.
I mean, for a heel, come out and say whatever you need to get heat, that's fine. But as we'll find out, everyone seems to be burying it.
Yeah, and the problem is because anyone who knows the sanctity of the NWA title knows that this would be a no-no.
Jackie Fargo forgets he's holding a microphone.
Yeah, it's going all over the place.
The one thing we missed that I wanted to bring out, Steamboat says that they've hand-selected the 20 participants. Wait till we see some of these participants.
Yeah, I know. The mind boggles. What we did miss as well is I've written this word for word because Jackie Fargo he's a treasure trove of comedy. He says, "You kissed my ass. I remember when you was this high and doo-doo and yellow," before announcing that he will be the first entrant in the gauntlet for the gold. So he'd have to survive all the other participants.
So that's another thing. Jackie Fargo tells Jarrett he's coming out at number 1. Shamrock comes out and just says he's at number 19. So who's picking these numbers?
I don't think he says it quite in those terms. I think this is where it was confusing because I believe at some point in the opening, TNA said there were 21 participants.
Right.
And then Jarrett says there's 20, and then Shamrock says there's 19.
Oh, I might got confused.
I don't blame you because they don't know.
Right. Hop here is insane. Also, I'm a big sucker for wrestling themes. This is one of Scott Hall's best.
It just oozes cool, doesn't it?
Marvelous Me.
Heyo, and the crowd go nuts.
Watching him in this is like so bittersweet. The crowd go absolutely mental for him. He looks out of it.
Yeah, he's definitely looked better.
Like slurring his words. He just hit himself in the face with the microphone. I love the double toothpick as well.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice the one behind his ear. Oh, Scott, what are you doing, buddy?
Bury in the main event as well. Why are you, Jackie Fargo comes out and takes the mick out of the fact that they're calling it TNA.
Yeah.
So they've buried the name of the company. They're burying the main event. That's all right. It can only get better from here, surely.
Yeah, I hope so. We've had 3 people come out, both faces and heels, say, "Oh yeah, this match is stupid, but I'm going to win it."
And these are all main eventers.
Yep.
Like main eventers in other companies as well. So these are supposed to be the legitimate people moving forwards, coming out and going, "Nah, none of this."
But I'm going to win it anyway. I didn't catch her name at first, but I learned it's Goldilocks.
It's Goldilocks. I'm not going to repeat what she just said. She was a recording artist that recorded a lot of music for the Knockouts division.
I see.
She went on to become a manager later on. And she has the same face. If you were in a hot tub with multiple other people and one of them turned to you and said, "I'm having a piss," that's the face you would pull.
You're absolutely right. She looks like she's holding something in or letting something go, or both.
She has no idea what to make of, was his name Puppet?
Yes.
Jarrett's got to steal the scene as well, just picking things.
Doesn't sound like Jarrett to me.
Hope you like Jeff Jarrett.
Honestly, watching this, I forgot about the girls in the cages from TNA. But that was a thing.
This one specifically is featured a lot because she is giving it some. I think it flashes to another one and she's just like, "Oh, I'm just here to get paid."
Yeah, exactly.
Right, this is the first ever match on a TNA pay-per-view. Who's the first person out?
AJ Styles.
Of course it is. Low-key nearly punches Jerry Lynn in the face coming out.
What a trio of performers.
I mean, AJ Styles was a relative unknown at this point. Low-key, Ring of Honor. Jerry Lynn, obviously, they've referred to as a veteran. I think he's been referred to as a veteran his whole life.
When did he debut in WCW? Because that was pre-ECW, wasn't it?
Jerry Lynn?
Yeah.
I don't know when he debuted, but we watched it. He was on the 96.
Yeah, I know he was on that Halloween Havoc.
But he's already been WWF Cruiserweight Champion or
Yes.
Light Heavyweight Champion at this point. ECW Heavyweight Champion as well.
So at the very least, he's 7 years into his career.
Yeah. I think by veteran, they mean experienced.
I don't know if you can shed any light on this because AJ Styles, Loki, and Jerry Lynn are facing the Flying Elvises.
Yep.
They consist of Jimmy Yang,
Yep.
Jorge Estrada,
Yep.
and Sonny Siaki.
Yep.
I only know one of those three.
Right. Sonny Siaki would be quite a big deal in early TNA NWA. Funny, they actually instructed him to act like The Rock later on. And as this goes on, you see he does look very similar to The Rock. He retired from wrestling. He should have been a big deal, but his brother got quite ill and he donated his brother a kidney, which obviously meant his wrestling career was over.
Of course.
So absolutely fair play.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I was watching this match, is that he really impresses and pulls it out. And I'm surprised I hadn't heard of him before because he is great in the ring.
Outside of TNA NWA, I'm not too familiar with what he did, but I've watched quite a lot of early TNA, and yeah, he's very good. Should have been bigger. Jimmy Yang obviously goes on to be Jimmy Wang Yang.
Yes.
Was it Wang Yang?
It was Wang Yang.
Yeah.
And then that leaves Estrada, who I'm really not familiar with at all.
I know the name, but I couldn't tell you anything he'd done outside of this.
I'm going to go on a small tangent here. So Mike Tenay makes a point that Elvis was quite the big wrestling fan. Are you aware of what Hulk Hogan said about Elvis Presley? I knew you would be. So Hulk Hogan once said that Elvis Presley was a big fan of Hulk Hogan before he died. Elvis Presley died before, what's his real name again? Terry Bollea ever stepped foot in a wrestling ring.
Amazing.
Stop lying.
One of my favourite stories was he partied with John Belushi 5 years after John Belushi died.
Yes, that's another great one. That was a great tilt-a-whirl backbreaker from Jerry Lynn there. And I noticed that you don't really see that move all that much anymore.
No.
I know it's very popular with cruiserweights, but anybody could do that move. You just need the right opponent to do the acrobatics to get in position.
I mean, it's very impressive he landed on his feet, but no selling a tornado DDT. Yeah,
that's not wise.
This is the X Division.
Yes.
Or early days of the X Division. In fact, I think they say on commentary that the X Division isn't about weight limits, it's about extreme wrestling.
They say that exactly. Although there isn't a single person who's over 220. Maybe Siaki. Maybe.
How tall is he? He's the tallest one there, isn't he, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big guy. I mean, watching this is 2002. I know, like, if you watch, say, AEW now, this is a pretty standard affair, but this was blowing people's minds.
Yeah, we just made our way out of the Attitude Era and into the Ruthless Aggression Era. This is when Rey Mysterio was just starting to make waves in WWE. I think he might have just signed at this point.
Possibly. I know he's a big deal in America at this point. They mention him quite a lot in the right. I don't want to say anything bad. Little People match?
There's a lot of stuff
Is that
in this whole pay-per-view that is just a sign of the times.
Yes.
Ed Ferreira is the main culprit, I would say.
Considering the action in this, there's not that many botches that happen. Everything is like so smooth.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone in this match is ahead of their time, aren't they? Although Loki has that extra thing of, I will just hit you really hard.
Loki should have been a massive star in wrestling.
Yeah.
But he's just a prick to deal with, apparently. Just backstage issues, and he's so good. He's so quick.
The man was Ring of Honor World Champion, wasn't he?
Yes. Second?
I knew it was early on. But yeah, case in point there. Like, I cannot tell that he didn't legitimately just kick Sonny Siaki straight in the cheek.
Yeah.
This is kind of the point once Styles gets tagged in where I realise what they've got. Because AJ Styles is my favourite wrestler of all time.
Yeah. And this is 2002. This is a long time ago now for an athlete.
Yes.
His wrestling style has not changed.
Yeah. There's only a couple of moves that he does in this match that he hasn't done in the last year.
Yeah, they must have seen this and gone, oh, we've got something special here.
Oh, it's not long before he has the main title, so they definitely knew what they had.
I think he won a tag title first with Jerry Lynn.
I can see why that would be the case.
I mean, if you're going to pair someone up with a veteran, as they call it, Jerry Lynn's the one to do.
Yep. And I think AJ's in his mid-20s at this point. I think mid-20s. We're talking 20 years ago. He's in his mid-40s now. So, yeah, probably about 25.
Yeah. He looks a lot younger.
Yeah, but he also looks like he's been doing this for 25 years.
Yeah.
Because he just doesn't put a foot wrong. And then Jimmy Yang gets the pin.
Arn Styles.
Yeah. Of all the people to take the pin, he probably would in the bottom of my list.
Well, it was a complete spot fest, but I'm exhausted.
Yeah, but it was really
just
fun.
watching it.
Really fun. When I first watched this, I didn't make notes. I was just mesmerized by the action that was going on. And this is the only time throughout the whole pay-per-view I could say that it's actually total non-stop action.
Yeah, you can see why they would have liked to have started with that match. I said at the start that this pay-per-view can be summed up with the word uncomfortable. This is in the top 5 of most uncomfortable things that happen on this pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think so. Luckily, it lasts like 3 minutes.
It's mercifully short, if you'd pardon the pun.
It's so quick that they pretty much enter at the same time. I will say, in fairness, that these two know what they had going against them, so they went all in.
I don't know whether this was supposed to be a joke or whether they were supposed to take this seriously, because the commentators are just taking every opportunity they can to make a joke. But to be fair, it's a good match. Like, they really go for it.
Yeah, they certainly do. Everything's as it should be in terms of a wrestling match, but they do ham it up a bit because they understand the novelty at the same time.
Yeah.
What I did think during this match is that I kind of understood the gravity of the sign of the times that it was, because this was 2002. Do you not remember, like, this is the point where gaming really became a thing, and it became something that bros wanted to do. So they understood that to appeal to that kind of audience, the 18 to 49 male demographic, they had to put this stuff on TV.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what they're hoping for, as politically incorrect as it is now.
I think that was them making Rey Mysterio jokes.
Ugh.
Unbelievable.
The man's like 5'9".
He covers a lot of distance.
He does.
With this. And there you go, Don West joining him with the bad jokes. But I guess he's only following Ed Ferrara because he can't follow what Mike Tenay is saying, because Mike Tenay, he's like an encyclopedia of like wrestling knowledge. So yeah, can't keep up with him, so I'll keep up with Ed Ferrara, I guess.
I think he is finding his feet, but as a color commentator, he sort of adds to the stakes of everything and makes every spot seem like it's the greatest thing he's ever seen. And that was his role throughout all of TNA, really.
Just pure enthusiasm.
Exactly. If you look at the biggest spots that company ever did, Don's basically losing his voice out of pure excitement.
Yeah, I read this somewhere, but didn't he used to be like a salesman, like those TV salesmen at the start, where he'd try and hype up a step ladder or something. It hovers on these ladies for an uncomfortable amount of time.
I will refer you to my earlier point.
Vince Russo had a big part in this, so yeah.
Oh, he joined the company at this point.
Yeah.
I thought he joined later in the 2000s. That explains a lot.
He said he came up with the name.
Of course he did.
I don't think no one's willing to take credit for the origins of the name.
Don West and Ed Ferrara in the ring. The two best people for this job, because they're introducing the combatants for the lingerie battle royal that is due to take place at next week's Asylum Years episode.
Don West doesn't even have a microphone. He's like, can I come in the ring?
Just want to be here.
But how many of these ladies did you recognise?
0.
Okay.
A bit about Francine just because the commentators fill in the gaps, but everyone else I did not have a clue.
Let me blow your mind.
I'm all ears, sir.
I can't tell you when they come out because the timing just goes completely mental. It falls apart very quickly. And speaking of falling apart, Francine barely makes it down that ramp.
She does because she's not really wearing clothes.
It's the shoes. Look at those. So Francine was a big deal in ECW. She was Shane Douglas's valet, hence the Queen of Extreme. Don West just shouting things out.
I tried to write down all the names of the participants here, and I've got some that I just cannot figure out.
You don't recognise her?
I didn't know.
Daphne.
Still doesn't ring a bell.
From TNA, Scream Daphne.
Oh, her.
Zombie Daphne, yeah.
Wow, okay.
That's Mickey James.
That's the only one where I was like, baby. Is her name Saka? I believe that's what Don West says.
I'd have to hear it again. I didn't write it down, but is it Alexis?
Alexis Lurie.
Oh, so, yeah.
That's one of the names I have written down.
That might be her. But Daphne's going under the name Shannon in this. But there is another lady called Daphne, and Shannon walks out as they're saying Daphne, and it's really confusing because I know her as Daphne.
What did he say? Dorita Tyler? Is that what it was? That's what it sounded like.
I feel like a kid in a candy store. You horrible man. Don West does not stop smiling through this whole thing. And I know we know what's coming up, but Francine in the corner just looks so over it already.
Look at all those fake smiles.
Don West just not selling anything at all. He's like, I'm just happy to be a part of this.
Oh, it gets better with Don West.
I mean, what Francine's saying is kind of true. But then I'm a massive ECW fan, so...
You certainly are. Mickey looks so different. I've just realised on the rewatch this is Elektra, because on my notes I've got someone, because it was that convoluted I didn't quite realise who interrupted Francine in the promo.
Right.
But that's Elektra.
Okay.
And they've both got the thickest New Jersey accents I've ever heard, and it makes it incredible to hear them argue.
It's like the Sopranos.
So here you go. Francine jumps straight onto Elektra and the cat fight starts. And Francine immediately just rips Elektra's top to reveal a bra, which is the same size as her shirt. So why she's devastated, I don't know. Don wraps a jacket around her, and he's just so happy. I don't think I've ever seen him that happy.
He keeps looking into the camera the whole time as well. Put the heels off. Smart. I'm not
Got to be able to move. Don's still smiling.
Look directly into the camera. Look.
Yep.
That was one of the more uncomfortable moments on the show. Oh, this.
So, Goldilocks is backstage with a character known as Mortimer Plumtree. Mortimer Plumtree looks, acts, and sounds like a 1920s British version of Patrick Bateman.
He is absolutely chewing the scenery here. Is he supposed to be English? 'Cause
No.
He's got the cricket bat.
That's what was confusing me. That's a very clearly American accent. So I think he's like, well, they say later in the commentary that he's Harvard educated. So he's just holier than thou, I'm better than you character.
So because this is the South, the cricket bat is...
Precisely.
Right, okay.
But I wonder who he's recruited.
I love as soon as he says Johnson's, the thunder.
Where did that come from? Is it raining outside? Ridiculous.
Oh, more bad jokes.
And as soon as they both walk out and they're announced, Ed Ferraro just goes, I think that reminds me of something.
They're called Richard and Rod.
Richard and Rod.
You get it?
Oh, you get it.
You get it.
It's about cocks, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dicks.
Yeah, they're penis. You get it.
No.
Now, I have a question for you, Jack.
Okay.
Are those padded?
They did wrestle in WWE as well. It's a tag team called the Shane Twins. They're fairly big guys. In WWE, they were called Gemini. They weren't there for very long. I mean, they're very big guys, but you'd have a hard time convincing me that their legs aren't padded.
Yeah, they look like hip pads that you'd see on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah. James Storm.
Yeah, this match in particular really made me understand how James Storm got to where he is in TNA, because the man just has the crowd in the palm of his hand the entire time. He's
James Storm
effortlessly over.
Is so good and has been so good for a long time. How he only had one match in WWE is an absolute mystery to me. Because this is testing my memory. He was in NXT. It was a one-off. Was it against Elias?
You're beyond my knowledge as well there.
And it was just a random match that he just appeared with.
And James Storm just pulling out some fake guns and shooting it, because nothing will get you over in the South other than guns. Nothing more popular than that.
Ed Ferrara also said, I thought they outlawed cowboy gimmicks in 1992. Okay, we're recording this at the tail end of 2023. James Storm still has that gimmick.
Rightly so.
In fact, his nickname is The Cowboy.
Didn't we also have Cowboy Bob Armstrong on the show earlier? No, Bullet Bob Armstrong, excuse me, but same gimmick.
There's probably a few Cowboy Armstrongs. Also, Psychosis. I love Psychosis.
I do love Psychosis. I only know his WWE work, but I know he was an absolute... Powerhouse isn't the right word, but you know what I mean. In ECW.
Big deal, yeah.
Yeah, he was a big deal.
And then he rode a lawnmower.
Yes, he did. Told you, sign of the times. Mid-2000s were wild, man.
I kind of get what they mean by cowboy gimmicks, because James Storm looks so young, and you can't have a cowboy gimmick with someone that looks young. Like, he fits a cowboy gimmick now, because he looks like he's seen some things.
Also, I don't know how telling this is of us or the person I'm about to mention, but we talk about it being 2023 and cowboy gimmicks. We forgot to mention Hangman Adam Page.
Yeah, that's a good point. But he's a millennial cowboy.
And this is the point where I think Ed Ferrara gets the most thirsty in the entire show. So a woman turns up on the ramp in a suit,
Yeah, he says that is stunning.
He says, that is stunning. And then when it zooms up to her face, he's like, oh, I wish the camera would go a little lower on her.
I also wrote that down.
Now, I'm going to ruin it for her for the rest of this show for you. He sounds like a straight George Takei.
Oh.
Anytime he says something seedy, that's what he sounds like. There's a point earlier we missed it, but something happened and he just goes, hey.
Unbelievable. That's all I'm going to hear now.
Yeah, I couldn't unhear it, and now you have to too.
So I tried to find out who that lady was. She was in WWF as Ken Shamrock's sister, Ryan Shamrock.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Had a storyline with Val Venus. Slightly weird because her and Ken Shamrock were actually dating.
Yeah, that rings a bell. I've definitely seen that elsewhere.
But she stands there for a long time,
Doing nothing, just standing and watching.
just staring at the refs, trying to usher her off. I'm saying that like I don't know the referee's name, like I'm not a big TNA fan. That's Slick Johnson.
Slick Johnson.
In there with the Johnsons.
Why is that a referee's name and not a wrestler's name?
I don't know. They actually gave him a bit of a personality in TNA. There was a storyline much later where he was sleeping with the beautiful people.
Oh, okay. There's a very nasty spot coming up in a moment that I don't know if you noted about, but there's a point where the Johnsons give Psychosis and James Storm double belly-to-belly suplexes. Honestly, looks like they both land on their head. And from the camera angle, you can't quite tell because you're looking, it's a hard cam, and the Johnsons are facing the camera.
Right.
So they land behind the Johnsons and you can't really see. But it just looks horrible, and I wish they had a replay mechanic or they cut the camera because, my word, how they didn't break their necks. Here it comes. Watch this. It looks like they both land straight on their head. That must have been horrible to take.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a good landing. But she's still stood on the outside, just
Yeah.
like hands on hips.
Just stood there watching.
Well, considering everyone else seems to have missed their cue coming out, it doesn't surprise me. I love the way Ed Ferrara calls it a finishing move.
Yeah.
So you know the pin's coming. But look at that. Styles took the pin. James Storm takes the pin. This is people that are they're TNA people.
Yeah, later down the line, they do big things for the company. I think that might have been the reason they took the pin, is that they could trust these people and knew they'd stick around and they'd be rewarded. At least I like to think so, but that might just be wishful thinking on my part.
Taking advantage of people because they've never been on a bigger stage.
Yeah, so this is a weird thing that I didn't quite understand, is that Alicia stops the referee as he tries to leave, and then the referee gives her money. And it's not... This is a point where it's weekly pay-per-views, and they never resolve this.
Right, okay.
Here come the Dups.
Well, I tried to find out about these people. Did you look into who they are?
Nope.
Stan Dupp is Trevor Murdoch.
Oh my god, I can see it now. He's so much smaller than he was in WWE.
And obviously they're in the South, they're cousins, they're banging their cousin, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Both banging their cousin as well. So, Stan Dupp, I get. Fluff Dupp, I get. Bo Dupp?
He says we don't want any intoxicated wrestlers in our rings. You've got Scott Hall in 2002.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Okay, yeah, we're looking past that. Also, this Southern gimmick, are they supposed to be taking the piss out of... Because they're in the South, they're in Alabama. Like, is that... Are they heels? Are they faces?
They are supposed to be heels, 100%. Whether it's supposed to be a caricature that's supposed to piss the crowd off, or if it was just unfortunate they happened to be in Alabama when these guys are on the card.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, is that what people are like in the South? Speaking of what people are like in the South, I don't know what your knowledge of NASCAR is like.
Very little.
I know they drive.
They do a drive in a circle and they turn left, and it's like 500 laps.
This segment is the most uncomfortable thing on the whole show for me.
I didn't quite feel that, but I'm willing to hear you out.
And I will explain as it goes along. That music is just fantastic.
Some 80s ballad stuff, that is.
I've got nothing to say for this bit.
Yeah, I've literally called them some sports people.
One of them's called Sterling. That's all I got. There's so many cowboy noises in the crowd. My voice is a bit sore, so I'm not even going to try and do it.
And then out comes K-Crush, better known as R-Truth.
This is where it starts getting really uncomfortable for me.
Oh, you mean when TNA tries to incite a race war?
Yep. And I'll tell you why. It's 2 words he says. You people.
Your guys, I think he says. And in Alabama, I could see why that they might have put Truth as the heel in this scenario.
He's the heel. My
My
kind.
kind. That was it. It wasn't you guys. It wasn't you people. It was your
my
kind.
God. I mean, he's kind of justified in coming out by saying, this is a wrestling show. I am an athlete. I don't want to hear about NASCAR on a wrestling show. That's absolutely fine. But then to insinuate you're white, I mean, this is where it starts getting uncomfortable because he's insinuating racial stereotypes here.
100%. So he goes to square up to Hermes Sadler, and then out comes Brian Christopher, who's essentially still in his Grandmaster Sexay gimmick.
Blonde-haired, blue-eyed Brian Christopher.
Two pairs of glasses, some sunglasses and some goggles. Super kick. He doesn't move apart from his leg.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's so bizarre. I was
That's
really impressed.
Hell of a bump as well.
I would think that if it wasn't as padded as it was. I think that's deceptively thick padding.
Yeah, padding or no padding, he fell the ring.
Oh,
floor.
it's not a pretty bump by any means. I'm gonna ask you to ignore this because I'm gonna do a dramatic reading of exactly what Brian Christopher says in his promo.
Please.
Because I've written it word for word. Yo yo, yo yo, yo yo, yo. Hey Crush, listen up, you motherfuck. Whoa, mofo. You want to come down here and pick on these guys? Well, I tell you what. Why don't your kind come down and pick on my kind right here, right now? How about it, Huntsville? I'll tell you what. Listen, me and you, I'm challenging you. The G-Master wants you in the ring next week, and I'll have my friend Sterling give me some dog, and Herman give me some dog. Right in my corner. And after that, I can't quite figure out a single word he says.
It's probably for the best.
I agree. Thanks, Brian.
Just all of that, so very uncomfortable. Hasn't aged well at all.
Am I right in thinking this might be the highest point he's ever been in a major wrestling promotion as well?
Brian Christopher?
Yep.
I think he won the title.
I got nothing. Nothing to say to that.
They tried to push him as quite a big deal. He is legitimately Jerry Lawler's son.
Mm-hmm. Do you know much about Christian York?
I know him and Joey Matthews teamed in ECW together, and then I think he came back to TNA as part of their gut check in 2016, I believe. But I think he's very good friends with the Hardys.
That would make sense.
I've made that up.
It took me a second, but I did recognise Joey Matthews after a couple of times looking at his face.
So this match is an odd one because if you look past their gimmick, the dubs, it's a really good match for the 3 minutes that it's on for.
Yeah, they sort of have what was the name of that tag team in the late 90s that were always feuded with like the Headbangers?
The Bushwhackers.
No. But they had a very similar gimmick with it, and they were very hard hitting.
The Bushwhackers.
No, they always had a bucket.
Oh,
what was their name, Jack?
I hate you so much. I hate you so much for this.
Going to figure this out.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, you can tell it's Trevor Murdoch then when he looks up into the distance. You can see it in his face.
The Godwins.
Oh, Henry Godwin. That's who I had stuck in my head.
That's exactly who I was thinking of, was the Godwins when I saw these two. Down to the fact they're kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite surprised that with the Ducks gimmick, they didn't go all in and actually have them kissing and stuff like that, because that seems absolutely like something they would do.
Them kissing each other or them kissing the
kissing Fluff?
Their girlfriend. Actually, you wouldn't have a gay gimmick.
No. They make that abundantly clear.
Oh, yeah, that's not the first time we'll see a gay gimmick in this. Look at that big foot.
That is a big foot, sir.
I don't know who this man is, but he moves very well for a big guy.
Very big jump for a big man. I've also noticed, this is the first time I noticed, that they can't decide which corner's which when it comes to their tag team matches. They've got the heel face thing down, but they don't know which side to be on. There's no standard.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, because he's reaching for the wrong corner there as well.
Precisely. I think instinctively it's supposed to be the left-hand corner, but they've got to obviously be aware of where the camera is and take that. The ring is the ring, whether there's a camera there or not.
What do you know about Christian York? The way you said it was like as if you had some...
Nope, I had nothing. It's purely because he's the only person I knew nothing about.
Right. Yeah, looking at this, he should have gone on to do more, but I think he might have been a bit of a charisma black hole. If I remember, when he came back as part of Gut Check, he was massive. And each one of his dreadlocks was a different color. Always a good gimmick in wrestling, dreadlocks.
I'm trying to think of examples now, and I can't think of many. You've got Booker T.
Yeah.
You've got Bray Wyatt.
Sorry, let me white guys with dreadlocks.
Lance
So,
Archer.
this is more than I thought, to be fair.
That's all I can think of. I'm out.
Tyler Rex.
Oh, Tyler Rex. I don't know him as Tyler Rex. I don't think many people do.
Not anymore. And there it is. There's done.
Very short little tag match. Let's celebrate by picking our nose and eating it.
Is it offensive in the South? Because no one looks like they're getting offended. They're just like, yeah, man, you want a match.
I don't want to shoot on the crowd, but I feel like they might not be self-aware enough to know that it could be misconstrued as taking the piss out of them.
Toby Keith.
Oh, good news, Jack.
It's Toby Keith.
It's time for a performance from award-winning male vocalist Toby Keith.
Listen, that's the biggest pop of the night is for Toby Keith. I don't know much about Toby Keith.
No more than I do.
His guitar's not on. There we go. Is he the one that did that 9/11 song?
Fucked if I know.
He seems the type. I've got nothing to say. It's Toby Keith.
No, we're going to be sat here for a few minutes. Now, I am also going to point out that this is another point where the two versions of this pay-per-view that we watched were different. You just got to watch Toby Keith's live performance. I got to watch a full music video before Toby Keith's live performance. I had to endure 7 minutes of this knobhead.
You got double Keith.
I got double Keith.
Oh my
You never
God.
want to go double Keith.
Look at that power pose he's got.
In about 40 minutes' time, I'm going to remind you not to besmirch the name of Toby Keith.
Whatever could you mean?
We shall see.
I bet a lot of his songs are about the US of A.
And beer. And trucks. And women.
And soldiers. And eagles.
And apple pie.
America.
I once heard that Toby Keith was so American that he bleeds red, white, and blue.
Well, he's not too American for Jeff Jarrett. How to get heat in Alabama. Push Toby Keith. Look how much security has come out. You leave Toby Keith alone.
Get out of that ring.
That's Toby Keith.
You're just Jeff Jarrett.
Take your angry American ass out of here.
He doesn't look particularly angry.
I mean, he's a big dude, isn't he?
He looks like he's about to tell off one of his kids.
Yeah, he's seething inside, though.
Oh, the American way. So now we begin the gauntlet for the gold. Jeff Jarrett is already waiting in the ring.
New entrances, 90 seconds. That doesn't last very long.
It's inconsistent at best, which, when it comes to when TNA tried to come up with unique matches, I'd say that's consistently inconsistent.
Buff Bagwell. Fairly big pop for Buff. I mean, you knew going into this it was just going to be old WCW guys because they had no one else. Everyone else was WWE at this point.
Anyone that was worth taking had been taken.
Yeah, the buyout had just happened.
There was only one person in question who hadn't, that was really worth acquiring. The TNA do acquire later on, and I was convinced that we were going to turn up on this pay-per-view at some point, but how wrong I was.
You're talking about Sting.
I am talking about Sting.
No, that would happen. I'm not sure how much later, but it's a fair bit later, I think. I think we get Raven before we get Sting.
Wow. There you go. 22 seconds remaining, and Buff Bagwell's been eliminated. The clock goes to 90 immediately.
I know. It's like they just reset it and go, just get the next person out. Don't have Jarrett in there for too long.
We don't have the time. We spent 15 minutes getting the fucking ring back together.
Again, more WCW.
I'm not familiar with Lash LaRue.
He doesn't stick around. Don't worry about it. I don't know why he goes under the wire there. I don't know what happened there. It's like he runs and stops and goes.
Adrenaline's a hell of a drug, Jack.
True. So like Don West around this point starts like innocently asking what the rules are. Yep. You can hear him like, so is he eliminated? No, Don, he's not. Oh, right, yeah.
Despite the fact that TNA laid them out at the very beginning of the show.
I mean, this is his first exposure to wrestling, we can assume. So, I mean, fair play. He does shout, great action, quite a lot. And it's at this point you kind of realise, oh, they're booking Jarrett really strong.
So they got 18 seconds to go. They bring out the next person.
The next person, that is Norman Smiley, sir. He's very over in Alabama.
And he's English, apparently.
I'll tell you what else is over in Alabama. The Big Wiggle.
Oh, yeah. I've witnessed the wiggle.
Oh, my God. The late WCW, he was known as Screaming Norman Smiley, where he was the hardcore title, but he would scream like he'd just get put in positions like he'd be hiding in a toilet and scream, and it was just he's so good.
Hey, if you can get something like that over, fair fucks to you.
He still works at the performance center now. Trained a lot of people, and a lot of people that were trained by him will testament to how good he actually is.
I don't doubt it. Now, Smiley's just been eliminated, and they let the clock run down. They give it 20 seconds. They actually just let the clock run down. So whoever is producing this and calling the shots is just changing their mind on a whim.
More like a Paul who,
Right, guys?
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I got no idea who he is.
Just assume it's like Tyson Tomko or something. He looks like the type to be Tyson Tomko.
And this is about where they stop pushing Jarrett and just go, okay, maybe we should put some focus on other stars. After all, this is a new company. We need to make some stars.
I hope you feel the same as I do, but I'm pretty sure Jared's the smallest man in this match.
From now,
In general. Well, Smiley probably is a bit smaller than Jared, but there's just so many big guys. This whole match is like Vince McMahon's wet dream.
yeah. Trying to think now. I can't really remember who's in it.
The only one I can think of who even comes close is Chris Harris.
Yeah.
Hall and Shamrock are definitely bigger than
I
Jared.
don't know. Chris Harris was a big guy.
Mm.
Conan's in this.
He is. It was a nice little surprise when it came about.
He's over in the south.
Yeah. A lot of WCW fans here, though, aren't they? That's why. Here comes Ken Crush, who immediately stops Apollo from eliminating Jarrett.
Yeah.
I get it and I don't get it at the same time because obviously one of them's much easier to get over the top rope than the other. I don't want to have to try and get Apollo out over that top rope when Jarrett's right there. But you've just given yourself two problems.
And Jarrett's wily.
That's one way to put it.
I mean, he started an entire company to get himself over. Still slagging off Toby Keith.
And next up is Slash.
Don't know much about Smash. Slash. Love James Mitchell.
They don't put a lot of focus on James Mitchell, really.
No, but they should.
This isn't the match to bring out a valet.
It happens a few times.
I know it does, but it's not the match for it because it doesn't really aid anything. There's enough people in the ring where you don't need someone around the ring pulling focus.
Yeah, good point. Pulling focus off Jarrett especially. And no one's been eliminated for a while
Yeah,
now.
and that doesn't make sense either that Jarrett would stop Apollo from getting rid of Slash because Slash is a big dude.
He looks like he's deceptively big.
Yeah, because he's not very toned, but it's there just for that sake. And here comes Del Rios, who is
Doing Scott Steiner for some reason.
He is a Scott Steiner knockoff,
And
which makes me laugh because Rick turns up later on.
He's so shiny as well. Yeah, I didn't know whether this was a rib or not.
It's too uncanny for it not to be deliberate.
He's got an S on his trunks. His name is Del Rios.
But it's a Superman logo at that.
What I love about it is you just mentioned Rick Steiner comes out. He just no-sells the fact that he's just dressed up as his brother.
Mhm.
He's just like, nope. These men have been handpicked by NWA legends. We got to have Slash in there.
Yeah. Can't forget Slash.
Who's picking these people?
I'd blame Jackie Fargo.
Maybe you literally just put a slash on the page as they were doing their notes.
Maybe.
They just found a guy named Slash.
All they want is Slash to appear.
Guns N' Roses Slash comes
Cut a
out.
ripping guitar solo.
We got Toby Keith. We got Slash.
Here comes Justice, who's a Rhino knockoff, I would say.
Do you not know who that is?
I don't know who that is.
That's Abyss.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's pre-Abyss.
I'm so glad they changed the gimmick because that is a Rhino knockoff. He's just there in his singlet. It's so boring.
I've always known Abyss is a big guy, like the monster Abyss. He always looked big, but he looks huge here.
I remember Abyss looking bigger than Justice does now, I will admit. But it might be because he's pretty much in all denim as Abyss. He's not in exactly tight clothing.
Yeah, he goes through different variations. He does a Black Hole Slam, I think, as well. Yeah, it's here. He was supposed to go over to WWE, and they offered him a match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania.
I can see that.
As Abyss. And he said he wanted to stay loyal to TNA and kill more brain cells there.
Shot himself in the foot. And here comes Conan, and listen to that pop.
I bloody love Conan.
He just gets everyone hyped up. And you've had like a bit of a lull in crowd reaction up to this point for the last few minutes. Conan comes by and just does an absolute stampede. Doesn't really eliminate anybody, but just knocks everyone over and then really pumps up the crowd. I think they've placed him quite well in this gauntlet.
It's when the participants are coming out, you see people standing up to look who it is, and as it goes on and on, they're getting less and less enthused.
Yeah.
and it isn't until they shout, "It's Conan," the crowd go mad, and they start standing up again now. I was more interested in the crowd than I was what was going on in the ring.
It's almost as if having a Royal Rumble style match without established stars is a bit of a stupid idea.
I mean, they were established, a lot of the people in there, just not in America.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I forgot about Slash. I apologize. You're absolutely right.
I think Del Rios was quite a big deal. Apollo's a big deal.
Justice isn't at this point.
No. Joel Gertner.
What a sleazebag.
He does this. Knowing that you haven't watched a lot of ECW, you won't be familiar with his shtick, but it is all this.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it once or twice.
Where he had the neck brace on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, now it rings a bell. Yes. He's like, Max Caster did this better, I would say, just because it's less disgusting.
And he looks a bit like Max Caster. Fat Caster. So I mentioned the gay gimmick earlier.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Rainbow Express?
I'm not.
Don't look into it.
I'm not gonna.
They're heels because they're gay. Utterly
The
ridiculous.
crowd don't seem that bothered. But there you go. Like, even Don West and everyone are like, the gays in our wrestling, where men fight in pants, we can't be having this.
He's really like being ambitious with his hairline as well as Bruce.
Might be Hogan inspired, you never know.
Here he is.
Rick Steiner.
And if you look in the ring, only Justice sells the fact that they've just announced Rick Steiner. Everyone else is like, where Justice looks terrified.
Rick's not even in the ring and he looks exhausted.
More aloof.
Oh, those pants don't lie. He was panting to high heaven.
I don't know. He's always been quite well conditioned. Like, they were genuine Olympic level wrestlers. So this is when people start getting eliminated again. Rick Steiner was probably the best one to do it.
Yeah, so Slash goes, Justice goes with a nice big clothesline.
Hasn't sold whatever Del Rios is doing at this point either.
No.
I'd like to think in the back Del Rios decided he was going to do that gimmick to get himself over, and no one told him Rick Steiner's going to be in the match.
I'd like to imagine that's the truth.
And the next participant, Rick Steiner. Oh my fucking life.
Speaking of next participants, comes out Malice, and I'm hoping you know a little more about Malice, because that's a fascinating looking individual.
He was known as The Wall in WCW, and I think there's quite a famous meme that Hulk Hogan, "That's the Wall, brother." Other than the fact that I think he's now dead, that's all I really know about him. And I have a vague memory of him choke slamming Bam Bam Bigelow off some scaffolding through a table. But he's a big guy.
Yep, and then he eliminates Bruce.
But yeah, you're right. It is an interesting look he has.
He eliminates K Crush. He eliminates Del Rios. And then he eliminates Conan. If you watch, it looks like Conan doesn't even try. He's not even bothering to save himself.
He lands on his feet and then just bends over a little bit. But I think Malice must have been a guy that they wanted to push.
Absolutely, because he just eliminated Rick Steiner. So
well, I think Steiner probably eliminated himself.
But that was a hell of a bump. He didn't touch the ropes on the way over.
Just absolutely head first. You know, the best bit is just stands up and walks off after.
And here comes Scott Hall.
So this bit makes me laugh. Apollo just stands on the top rope for like a minute. It's like he's paused. It's like a 2K game, like gone wrong.
That's exactly what it looks like.
It just gets down.
Oh, what a waste of time, Apollo. Oh, how did I miss that?
I love the fact that the commentators mention it as well.
Apollo's got a nice super kick on him, though.
The best thing he's done since he's came in. And then the crowd go mad for the Razor's Edge.
It's a fucking cool move, that's why. Great action. Great action. That was Don West, though.
He says it a lot. I don't know if he was trying to make it his thing or if it was just like nerves. The smartest thing to do would be to eliminate Jarrett.
One of the smallest guys.
Everyone in there is twice his size.
Good news, Jack. It's time for award-winning male artist Toby Keith.
That's Toby Keith.
Now, this is the interesting thing. I'd like to point out that Mike Tenay specifies that he's made himself an entrant in this match. So he's in the match.
And credit where credit is due. I wrote in my notes, hell of a suplex.
That's a really good suplex.
Toby Keith just talking to Scott Hall over the rope.
Let's throw him over the rope. And then there goes Jarrett.
Did Toby Keith get eliminated?
That's my point, Jack. How dare you besmirch the name of Toby Keith? He goes through the second rope and never fucking comes back. He's TNA champion as far as I'm concerned.
He stalks Jarrett like a Terminator, doesn't he? Like he's Michael Myers, just beelines it for him.
So Hall and Apollo are just having fun with Malice, just chopping him back and forth.
And they are stiff.
Yeah, Wall, are you? See if you're still standing after this. And now comes Chris Harris.
Bit of an anticlimax.
Yeah, he hadn't really established himself at this point, had he? Because I associate him with a lot of the tag team work that he did.
I think he was signed to WCW as it folded. I couldn't tell you anything he did.
Now, Vampire Warrior comes early, unlike his movies.
Get out.
Oh,
I wasn't allowed to make short jokes.
I'm not allowed to make cum jokes now, Jack.
Cum jokes.
Yeah, Vampire Warrior comes out, formerly known as Gangrel.
Yeah, I don't know if he was supposed to be having a rivalry with someone, like with Chris Harris, maybe. Because he just comes out and he's like, yeah, I'm here now.
I bet the producer in charge of the timer was panicking. Oh, what do we do?
I mean, he's probably just given up at this point. Whoever's in the back trying to rally people up, get them to Gorilla, is probably just, oh, well, you're here now. Yeah, get out of there.
Devon Storm comes out.
Beat me to it.
There's a lot of, I'd say there's a lot of influence from Tyler Rex in Devon Storm.
I think he did some good work, Devon Storm, or Crowbar, however you want to know him. He was one of those, like, sort of hidden gems towards the tail end of WCW. I mean, didn't really have a gimmick apart from kind of goth, I guess.
Yeah, he is kind of goth. It looks like he's wearing eyeliner at the very least. Just means goth, obviously.
In the early noughties, you put a bit of eyeliner on, you're a goth. I had a pink mohawk in the early noughties, and I was a goth.
We've all been there. Best not to dwell on it.
I'd do it again. You just hold me back.
Scott's just chilling in the corner, watching it all unfold. There you go. He's just sitting there. God, I'm exhausted.
The thing is, it's Scott Hall. He can just completely get away with it.
Because he's just that cool.
Remember what I told you about Scott Hall a while ago?
Maybe.
Best worked punches in the business.
Yeah, you can see it. Steve Corino, they point out that he is the only entrant in this whole gauntlet who has held the NWA World Championship. And I know the name, but that's about all I know about Steve Corino.
King of Old School, ECW, TNA, Ring of Honor.
Yeah, he's one of those workhorses that's kind of been everywhere except the big league.
Yeah, pretty much. Very good. He's done that thing where he has too many words written on the back of his trunks. I mean, I haven't looked at it, but my guess would be King of Old School.
That's what it looks like to me. At this point, we have 2 entrants left.
So we know one is Shamrock.
We don't know who the other is. Not for certain.
It didn't get announced, did it?
No, but you want to save your best till last, right?
Yeah. Toby Keith's already come out.
Oh, yeah, good point.
I'm surprised that he didn't come out and there was 3 of them left in the ring.
Yeah, and here comes Ken Shamrock.
Ken Shamrock is one of those people that I know could probably kill me with his little finger. And he looks like such a killer. But he's so, like, acting tough. I find him hilarious.
Wow. If it wasn't for the fact that we knew he was legitimately tough, yeah, it would kind of be unbelievable.
He's just so over-the-top alpha.
Not with those sideburns, Jack.
Wow. I said that like I had something to say.
Oh, yeah, good point. I hadn't considered that.
I was trying to make a Wolverine connection in my head, but all I had was Wolverine.
That's not much of a striking resemblance, but I see your point.
I think what I was trying to say is I associate sort of sideburns like that with Wolverine.
I associate them with Rico.
Surprised he's not in this.
Yeah. Well, this was the peak where he actually was getting TV time. I think it was around this point when he was actually getting TV time.
Yeah, it must have been.
Oh, it's time for the last entrant. Who's it going to be? Oh, it's Brian Christopher. Never mind. I will say that this is the point where you kind of see that they really wanted Christopher to be a star in their company.
Yeah, they tried. He did some good work, to be fair, but he was just so over the top silly with it.
He eliminates Harris, launches him over that top rope.
Just chucks him into the showers.
Yeah, ducks Storm, gets rid of Vampire Warrior, 2-1.
How about Harris landed?
Yeah, he landed past the padding, I'm pretty sure.
Fifth row.
Yeah. Carino's gone. Also by Christopher, so that's 4.
So it's about this point where I noticed that Shamrock doesn't do a lot.
Really saving his energy.
I understand saving your energy because he knows he's got to have a one-on-one match later, but it just looks stupid. Like he barely does anything now.
Yeah, but knowing what I knew now before watching this, I had it that there were only 3 people that could feasibly win this whole thing, and that's Hall, Shamrock, and Christopher. And Christopher's just been eliminated.
Yeah, Shamrock's just stood there, just selling what Malice is doing.
Malice just throws Apollo onto a cameraman, I think. So this gets interesting because they cut the camera at the wrong time because I genuinely thought half a second that Malice had been eliminated rather than Hall. He goes for the razor's edge, and Malice just lifts him up and throws him over the top. But they cut the camera at the wrong time, and it looks like he's about to lift him up for the edge.
I don't know if you noticed this either. Does Ricky Steamboat signal that Shamrock's winning? Because he rubs his nose in the strangest way I've ever seen in my life. It's like he's pointing to Shamrock.
I'm going to watch this now. Oh yeah, he does. I noticed he rubbed his nose, but I hadn't made the connection for that. I will also point out this is the only point where I've seen a fan sign, and it says, "We came for Francine. Will she come for us?" Fuck me.
I mean, I had a thing for Francine, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, she seems like your type. Yeah, so it's Malice versus Shamrock in a final one-on-one pinfall submission match. I wonder who's going to win. Rock versus Wall.
I mean, fair play to Malice. He's been in this for a long time.
He has.
And you couldn't tell. I know we've spoke about this in the past as well. I like this gimmick of having like a battle royal with a one-on-one match at the end. I know you don't like it.
I agree with the sentiment that pretty much every participant has said, in that it's stupid to crown a brand new world champion.
Oh yeah.
But it's just typical TNA. We're just trying to reinvent the wheel.
That'll happen later when they stick 2 more sides on the ring.
Among other things. I don't know if you noticed as well, and I don't know how deliberate this is, but Steamboat is up to some shenanigans in this match.
What do you mean?
So there's a point, it's only in a couple of minutes actually, where Shamrock gets Malice in the ankle lock. Malice reaches the ropes, Shamrock pulls him back, and he doesn't stop the hold. I don't get it.
I wrote 7 count in my notes.
Yeah,
the point where he counts to 7.
That's another one where he counts to 7 rather than 5. So when he got 5, I was like, oh, okay then. But no, he's carried on.
It's almost like Steamboat was hoping that Shamrock and Malice would obey the rules, so he's like going for it, going, please break the count by 5. Also, how long was he just in that armbar for?
A very long time.
Shakes it off. That's it. Done.
Yeah, he's fine.
That's
he sells it a little bit. He just continued to sell it for a little while, but not as long as he should for a cross armbar. So he gets the ankle lock in at this point. And Malice is very close to the rope.
At this point, I realised how big Malice is.
He's huge.
It looks like me as a toddler doing an ankle lock to my dad.
Yeah, and obviously Shamrock's not a small dude.
No.
He also does this. He has a habit of just banging the mat, and Tanay keeps thinking he's tapping. He does it 4 or 5 times throughout the match. And so he gets the rope, pulls him away. He doesn't get him to break the hold. Steamboat's like, yeah, carry on, mate.
I mean, Shamrock's obviously not been watching his Kurt Angle matches, because Grapevine the leg.
Oh, yeah.
Who was doing the ankle lock first?
Oh, it was Shamrock. Shamrock was doing it back in 98, before Angle even debuted. So now he's got the rope again, and he's counting him down, and he reaches 7, which is baffling. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
The most I've ever seen is 5. And I know Danielson used to use it as his gimmick, where he would make the ref count to 5 and say, well, I had till 5. Like that was his gimmick.
I don't know what Mitchell was supposed to be doing there. He pulls Malice aside, doesn't really say anything.
It's like he should have been giving him some brass knuckles or some sort of foreign object.
That's exactly what I thought was happening.
Nah, just pep talk.
Yeah, how very heelish of you.
I don't know what he's doing with his hand there, but it was amazing.
Just telegraphing, like a Dark Souls boss. It's the belly to belly.
And that's it.
Shamrock is your first NWA TNA champion.
I mean, out of everybody on the show, it was probably the right thing to do. I mean, I don't know who else you could have put it on.
Yeah, I think for the moment it needed to be a face. I'm not convinced that Jared didn't push for it to be him.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he was overruled in that it needs to be a face in order to get the pop from the crowd, establish everything, and then run with the company from there.
Good worker, can put on good matches. Just made sense. And now, Ferrara, you heard the joke.
I've heard the joke.
There's nothing about that joke I'm going to repeat.
I've quite literally just written the words, what the fuck did Ferrara just say?
I noticed Ferrara does call Malice the Wall at one point during this as well. But yeah, that's a show that's not aged very well at all.
Do they do the sort of closeout with these 3? Yes, they do.
Nah. Yeah, he calls him the Wall there, look.
Oh, Ed.
You could see Tanay, I don't know if he knew that joke was coming, but he looks at him and just shakes his head.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're on an audio format here, I'd just like to specify that Ferrara talks about fighting Shamrock and how it's like appearing in the Special Olympics. And it's disgusting.
It's just...
But But there is some good news, Jack, because we get to see male artist winner Toby Keith again. It's not all bad. He's got a bandana now.
Did he have the bandana in the Rumble?
I don't think so.
So
He went from cowboy hat to no hat to bandana. 3 faces of Toby Keith.
The 3 faces of Keith. So we just got a new NWA TNA champion. That's a big moment.
And Jarrett makes it all about him.
Nah, Jarrett's got to come out.
You've got to.
And then still completely burying the main event again.
Complains about the same thing that's already happened, that he can't change at this point. And then he just starts beating up old men. Not Harley Race, though. He's smarter than that. But he starts beating up old men.
Armstrong takes a hell of a bump.
Yeah, you leave Harley Race alone. That's the wise choice, isn't it, mate?
Smart.
And Jackie Fargo comes out, surrounded by security and Toby Keith, and they're holding back Jackie Fargo out of the two of them. And he's just rambling. He looks drunk.
He sounds drunk. Calls him a country music singer.
Yep. Yeah, it gets more confusing because Jared then says, like, oh, don't worry, we'll do this right now. Forget about next week. Scott Hall comes out, and then Jared just goes straight to Scott Hall. He ignores Toby Keith, he ignores Jackie Fargo, he goes for Scott Hall.
Just run straight by. I didn't even think of that, when I watched it. Look at the state of that security team.
Yep. Just a bunch of average-looking men. But yeah, they close out with that, middle of a brawl, very WCW, very AEW as well. We've run out of time, folks. We'll see you next time.
That's why you need a TV show to give you guidelines
100%
to go in, because it was a pay-per-view deal. It didn't have to be PG-13 or anything like that. They could basically just do what they wanted, and that's what happens.
You need to be reined in a bit. But I will say, in summation of the whole show, is that you could see the sparks of creativity that made TNA successful with its in-ring work. I think it's just a shame that everything outside of that really has not aged very well.
No. But yeah, you can see Styles, really impressed. Storm's good.
Yeah.
Justice is there.
You can see Harris doing his thing. And then they've relied on some legends, and granted it's proved successful, but they needed to breed those newer stars, and I think they showcased them well enough in this show.
Yeah.
So that was TNA's first ever pay-per-view.
I never want to watch it again.
We never have to. That's absolutely fine.
Good.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Bye.
Fine. Stop. Get the stop. Stop it.